The long-awaited start of the 2020 volleyball season has finally arrived. Memorial Gym, like so many other arenas around the country, quiet no longer. It's the Citadel in town, continuing its journey through the Commonwealth, fresh off a match with Virginia Tech last night. The Bulldogs are 2 contests into their season. For Coach Aaron Smith's Wahoos, it all begins tonight. A moment of silence before we get set for this first of games, only really the second event being held here on grounds since resumption of athletic events have took place. It has been quite a wait when you consider that a roughly 30-match schedule generally cranks up around mid to late August. Instead, we're thrilled to have you with us on this ACC Network Friday night in the depths of September for the opening of a fall season like none other, and a fall season which that man hopes and everybody around him will indicate the steadily improving nature of his Wahoos program, a team hoping to make the the long drawn-out wait for this season, well worth all the anticipation. It is the first ever meeting between these two schools, both steeped in tremendous history around both of their campuses, grounds respectively. And it is just about to get underway with these two against Citadel coming in 0-2 under the direction of their head coach. And there is a look at Dave Zelenak, who is bringing the Citadel to the charge. Talks about these opportunities that are in front of his team as outstanding chances for them to get ready for what they know is going to be a spring season. At least that's the game plan in the Southern Conference from which they hail. He said a chance to get in-game experience against the talent level that we're seeing on back-to-back nights here in the late portion of the month of September is going to be huge for us as we try to compete for the Southern Conference Championship come spring. As you can see, he's in his 3rd season. Quite the background, 5 seasons at Tennessee Tech before working his way to the Low Country in Charleston, South Carolina. Aaron Smith, we talked about how impressive his start has been as the head coach. It's his 4th season in that department, but his 9th season overall with the Cavaliers. Background at Penn State, before NCAA tournaments that he appeared in there, and there has been steady improvement for this team year in and year out. A team that ended up tying for 11th in the ACC last year. And a Commonwealth native from nearby Richmond, getting set for what he hopes is going to be a season in which his team exceeds expectations. They were picked in the poll coming out recently to be 13th in the preseason, but a lot of folks around this program, a lot of folks around the conference believing this is a team with some of the young pieces that are coming to fruition, as well as all that experience that some of those first-year players received a year ago that can really do a little more than where they're slated. They're slated ahead of Wake Forest and Virginia Tech, as I said, 13th in the ACC preseason standings. Starting lineups being announced. Some differences in the starting lineup. Highly regarded first-year Madison Morey is going to give Wahoos faithful a quick look. She's getting the start. They're expecting a solid career. A lot of folks talk about her as the libero of the future. She is going to get a look tonight, and that's going to give Alex Spencer a chance to slide over to what was her traditional, her regular position. She'll be back in that role of an outside hitter with some of the noticeable absences tonight. There are 4 Wahoos players unavailable due to a coaching decision. You'll notice not dressed, but with the team. The likes of Mila Cyprian, Layla Rogers, the highly regarded Grace Turner, who's trying to work her way back from injury, as well as Zen Benaby, all unavailable tonight, but they're expected to be a big part of this team as the season rolls on. And the Wahoos are down 5 players. You also have to throw in there Mary Schaefer, who was injured and has lost her fall. The highly regarded prospect who mom was an all-ACC performer at Duke, and we're going to have to wait to see exactly what she is made of, as that shoulder injury has her sidelined for at least the extent of the fall. Good news perhaps related to that, though, is the fall is now, as storylines are developing around the country, seeming as if it's not going to be the only volleyball season here in this 2020-2021 athletic year. Just this week, NCAA, the council, revealed a plan now under consideration which would support a January through April regular season with a selection show on April 11th and a Final Four April 23rd through 25th involving schools back in action across the country. All ACC coaches certainly hoping that there would be some way to incorporate a spring season to balance out the remainder of what is going to be a limited ACC fall schedule. and in doing so, allow them to compete for the NCAA championship. How all that works itself out, well, that's anybody's guess. We're all certainly, in these days, learning as we go and discovering as it happens. But it's good news that at least plans are being considered and awaiting final approval. We'll get into some more of that as time rolls along. But it is time for the first ever meeting between the Citadel Bulldogs and the University of Virginia Cavaliers. And it is underway from NIM Gym, the 42nd season of Virginia volleyball. Now, after a little bit of delay, finally here. Bit of a back and forth. Remember, I mentioned Citadel coming in off of a loss in straight sets to Virginia Tech. So they want to get started well here in order to make sure that they can hang around a little longer maybe than they did get the ACC opponent they faced last night. And to that end, Bulldogs off to a good start as they claim the match's first point. You will notice some differences as we go through the night. We'll try to point some of them out for you. As with a 1-0 lead, the Citadel in service gets a good block up on that front side. Among others, they're trying to do something with it was Alicia Roberts. But it will end up being Virginia evening things up with a point apiece. The starters, Spencer, Jarman, Wilson, Francis, Boylston, Matthews, and Morey with the first point of the season for Virginia. And now back to serve is Jana Francis, the second year out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Well, among those differences that you are going to notice, teams will not switch sides regardless of what happens from one set to the next, as Virginia claims another point off the deflection and takes its first lead at 2-1. So they'll remain on the same sides, on the same benches. While players are on the bench, they will be required to wear those masks like you just took a look at. Whether they wear them during action on the floor, that is a personal choice. If the Citadel bounces back with a point of their own, they even things up at 2-2. Boy, what a powerful swing from the Citadel's Micaiah Middleton, the Arizona native, a powerful left-handed swinger, as you've already witnessed. Gets the Citadel back in service. Some other noticeable differences: only families and staff able to attend. Attendance limited for the health, safety of everybody involved, and certainly the student athletes, as the Citadel heads out front by a count of 3-2 as they begin to put some type of run together. And you see they try to distance the family staff members as much as possible, but it's just families and staff alongside the mask requirements, the adjustments of not switching, and even down to the ways that the volleyballs are being handled, the sanitation of those. So many differences that these players are having to adjust to, having to get used to as they work their way into the season. Certainly for the Citadel, they have now seen that, though in different environments, a couple of different times prior to this. For Virginia, so much of that is going to be brand new tonight, even down to the whistles. You may hear a difference in the whistle, an electronic whistle being put into use. Just so many safety measures, and again, all learning and tweaking as we go. So what you see from one match to the next, from 1 week to the next, from one conference to the next, may be completely different as you watch these games this fall. But how happy are we, each one of us, just to have these games back? And talk about excitement. And you can see it on the Citadel side of things as they continue to get strong leadership from Alicia Roberts and company, the redshirt sophomore out of Griffin, Georgia, having made her presence known in the early going for the Bulldogs, who are out to a 4-3 lead. First set of this best of 5 in what is the first volleyball match of the year for the University of Virginia. Set up beautifully, and somehow able to get down and dig that out. It was impressive just to keep it alive for Jana Francis. Even if Melanie King and company have continued to string some success together. That was a good look at the Southlake, Texas native from powerful, athletically, Southlake Carroll High School. 12th all-time in school history in kills was King, as she was on the heart of your screen a minute ago. And she and her teammates continuing to flex their muscles early on. Charlissa DeJesus, all conference in the Southern Conference the past 2 years for the Puerto Rico native. Just a little bit too strong on this delivery, and it'll be a point for UVA, a much-needed point for the Hoos. allowing Aaron Smith's team to battle back within 3. Within a couple now. See the response to Megan Wilson. Talk about the growing nature of excitement around this program. As a service error will give the point back to the Citadel. The 2019 recruiting class that Aaron Smith put together. You're seeing so many of those faces featured regularly. Had the 4 Under Armour All-Americans, 3rd most in the country. Added a couple more to this crop that he has brought on grounds that had honorable mentions in that high school All-American department. So the youth is experienced, and one thing he talked so much about as his team surrenders another point to the Citadel on this occasion was that these young players this particular year may not have to carry as much of the load as they've had to the past couple of years because of the injuries and some of the other peripheral challenges that this team has had to face. He's hoping they can work their way into a more usual scenario alongside some talented upperclassmen. One of the main reasons for optimism. The Citadel having their way in the early going, though. This team, a squad that's going to play 4 matches this season, with this the 3rd that's going to be under their belt. They'll have 1 more against Mercer on October 1st, and that will end Dave Zelenak and company's 2020 fall run. Well, what a lift it would be if they could find a way to continue to compete at this level against an ACC opponent tonight on the road. Off to a 9-4 start is the Citadel. This swing is a little too strong. And, well, now it looks like Virginia was celebrating as if the point was going to go their direction. But the up official indicating that was touched by one of those Wahoos and awarded the point to the Citadel. So it is a 10-4 lead for the crew out of the low country of South Carolina. Aaron Smith was not so sure. He's going to use a challenge on that most recent call of contact with the Virginia side, which awarded the Citadel's 10th point. Well, mentioned the history of these two schools. Of course, anybody familiar with Thomas Jefferson's connections to the University of Virginia dating back to 1819, just having celebrated the bicentennial. Of course, not far behind that, in the low country of South Carolina, the Citadel, the Military Academy of South Carolina, coming along in 1842. Seeing the toughness of this Citadel squad in the early going. Remember, they live life as cadets. And as a result, some of the things they're battling through on the sports side pale in comparison to much of what they deal with on a daily basis. And so that's one of the things that Coach Zelenak talks so much about. His team ready to handle a lot of this adversity. They do it in so many ways throughout life. And you saw the result as the call will stand. And that tough and scrappy Citadel squad will, in fact, have that 6-point advantage. With the curtain having been raised on the opening set of UVA's season opener. Strong elevation on that far side as you see Alex Spencer get high. Set back there again, but the blocking tandem is true for the Citadel. And the point will end up going to the Bulldogs as the response from Virginia is just a little bit too strong. There is Alex Spencer, boy, the epitome of a team player. You talk about people excited to play. Those around the program said nobody more so than Alex Spencer. What a thrill it must be for her tonight that she gets to kind of fall back into one of those more usual roles after all the sacrifices she's made along the way to be whatever is necessary for this team. And on cue, she celebrates the point for Virginia and goes back to the serve line herself. She was almost exhibiting tears of joy when she found out there were going to be some games for the upperclassmen and her comrades. Think about her career. Came in as a pin hitter. I think she's getting to a little bit of tonight, but was willing to make the transition to defense, to libero, Still goes back from time to time on games like this when needed, but she's the definition of that team player willing to do whatever to make the entire unit successful. Success belonging to the Citadel right now in this first set, out to a 12-5 advantage. They're able to get Middleton loaded up once more. But Virginia answers. And this is the stretch in the match where the Cavaliers hoping to come to life as the Charleston native, Madison Matthews, works her way off onto that Virginia bench. Knows a little bit about the Citadel. Hailing from Ashley Hall, downtown Charleston, which is the high school she went to, just less than 2 miles from the parade grounds of the Citadel. She expects to factor heavily in Virginia's success this season if they are to do more than expected and continue the progress in 2020. And here is Madison Morey getting the start at libero. Talk about someone that comes in highly regarded, and a pump of the fist from her as she surrounds her teammates with the latest Virginia point. She'll stay in that serving role. Out of Walton High School in Marietta, Georgia. Had a great camp. Aaron Smith talks about the high level of club volleyball which she played prior to tonight, beginning her collegiate career, and how that really readied her for the college environment. He said it's almost as if she's been in college for a couple of years because of the level of competition she has played. Wisely lets this one sell right out, and Virginia pulls even closer to even under her leadership. From that Atlanta area, one of a handful of first years that have brought in, and we'll just go ahead and give you the coaching staff's words, a good vibe to assist the ascent of this program. Not your typical first years, the coaching staff will tell you. They didn't come in eyes wide open, waiting to see what happens. They really have come in with a great deal of confidence. Not sitting back necessarily and watching to see what's going to happen, but trying to find their role and how they can help make things happen. Well, the evidence of that tonight, Madison Morey. She has put together a run of serves that has pulled Virginia within striking distance at 12-9. But there is going to be no response to Middleton on this occasion. King rising way high to provide the answer for the Citadel, although the call ends up going Virginia's direction, and the Cavaliers have pulled within 2 at 12-10. So what a start for Virginia in terms of battling back, and that's something that this team is going to try to do from adversity a year ago. One of the biggest challenges for Coach Smith and his team, stay healthy. Went through a year last year where they lost as many as 4 players that had spent significant time starting before even arriving into the month of November. Of course, so much of what happens this season is going to depend upon how quickly Grace Turner, one of those players, is able to get back to pre-injury form. If this team is going to do what they've done the last several years, and that's win a few more matches than they have the year prior, she'll be a key to that when she returns. A +5 improvement from 2018 to 2019 for this squad, who every year under his leadership have been a little more successful than the previous year. This is the year that they believe if they can shore up that right side, if Grace Turner can return to form, if those young players cannot have to try to do too much but can really fall into their roles, that they can make the major strides in conference action. Of course, it'll be interesting to see with the setup of the scheduling and when the games take place and how championship pursuits break down, just how easy that progress is going to be to gauge. But one thing you can say for sure, man who's been around this program for now nearly a decade, since he has taken over at the helm, is at least making incremental progress. Citadel with an advantage of 13-10 in the first set. This team, as I mentioned, has had their championship season moved to the spring, and the service error will provide the point to the Hoos. All fall sports in the Southern Conference moved to the spring. They left open the possibility of non-conference action. The Citadel, among others, Mercer, the team they'll play twice this year, opting to go ahead and play. In fact, the Citadel will play football at Clemson against the #1 team in the country, against an ACC opponent tomorrow, and have gathered up a handful of games for each of their sports. This Citadel team was supposed to play at Clemson tonight, but that game was canceled very early in the week, which allowed this one to be added to the slate. It worked out nicely that they were already in Blacksburg taking on Virginia Tech in the Thursday battle. Arrangements were made for them to slide on over, go ahead and open Virginia's season just a little bit earlier than expected. Worked out well for the Citadel at this point. Flew out of Charleston up 3 as we reached the middle stages of the first set, but a little bit of a mishit there that will turn things back over to the Hoos at 14-11. Sarah Billiard, who is on milestone watch this season, needs 137 kills to eclipse 1,000. In the heart of your screen there, and she'll be in the heart of your screen so often. Played in all 31 matches for Virginia a year ago. The Cavaliers celebrate the latest point to pull within a couple. 107 sets for Sarah Billiard to lead the team in 2019, and again, she is closing in on 1,000 kills, a milestone she expects to reach before this 2020 season is done. Strong hit right into open real estate. And Virginia, having worked all the way back now to even with the Citadel. Billiard right in the thick of it. After the service of Francis, beautiful block up on the far side. And we've talked about how often Billiard is out there, and it's as if on cue she initiates this run for Virginia that pushes the Wahoos ahead at 15-14. Back set, but the delivery too strong, and Virginia in a groove now, having increased their advantage to a couple, and that's going to demand a little bit of a timeout to talk it over, as Virginia has run out front by a count of 16-14. Kind of coming into their own. You have to keep in mind, this is a Virginia team that is seeing its first action with someone else on the other side of the court. For the Citadel, match under their belt last night, one under their belt against the Mercer Bears in what will be a home and home that they will play as a non-conference matchup against an in-conference foe to close out their season when they return to McAllister Fieldhouse in the early stages of next month. That's one thing you'll see around the country that's going to be a little unusual. Certain teams may play more than the required number of games against conference foes that will be applied to their non-conference one-loss record for 2020, whatever happens, if they're outside the realm of the conference schedule. Well, the way it breaks down for the ACC is everybody having been put in 3 separate pods. Virginia in the Central pod alongside Virginia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, and NC State. Of course, the idea to make sure that the travel is cut down and the overnights are limited. Virginia will not even have to make an overnight. They'll play Friday, Sunday on weekends, that they'll make the trip down, make the trip back, and then do the same a couple of days later. You see what's coming up for the Cavaliers as they will play 8 conference games in the fall portion of the schedule. And again, now hoping there'll be a spring portion to follow this up. But 3 pods across 4 weeks with 8 matches for each of the teams in the ACC. Again, the teams that will complete the pod along with Duke and North Carolina for Virginia are Virginia Tech and NC State. And they'll close up the regular season, the fall portion of it, on October 24th against NC State, as they have a couple of matches against Virginia Tech and a couple of matches against the Wolfpack following what you see on your screen there. The other two pods, if you're interested, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Wake. And then, boy, isn't this one tough. Think about the North pod. BC, Syracuse, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Pitt. 3 of the top 5 teams, according to the preseason poll, in that single pod with league favorite and champion Pitt. Notre Dame and Louisville all stacked up in there, along with Syracuse and BC. A couple of more, both finished to pick in the top 10 of the ACC when all is said and done. Virginia trying to create a little breathing room now. Out front 16-14 against a Citadel team that held the advantage the majority of this first set. But fresh off a timeout, watching Virginia try to slip away. This point goes to the Citadel, however. Charlisa De Jesus. Talk about milestones. She's closing in on 900 digs and is looking to become just the 5th Bulldog all time with 1,000 kills and 900 digs. That's how good she's been for the Citadel in her career. The senior trying to close it out strong. Through her once more, but this one off the mark as Virginia celebrates surrounding Sarah Billiard. Billiard from across the state line from the Citadel. She comes from Matthews, North Carolina's Covenant Day School. A couple of players for Virginia that come from the Charleston area itself. Mentioned Madison Matthews being from Charleston, and Patty Boylston from Mount Pleasant's Wando High School. So those two with some connections when they look over at that jersey on the other side. Virginia running it up to an 18-15 advantage now. Just before Kristen Leland can go to work, another timeout. When you discuss connections, there are a couple of those on the Citadel side of things as well. Maya Alessel, as well as Gina Delancey, both natives of the Commonwealth. Delancey in her sophomore campaign coming from Arlington, Virginia, both those players from the D.C. area, as Alesso played at Oakton High School in Vienna, Virginia. But quite a thrill, I'm sure, working their way back into their home state. And when you think in terms of the two Charleston natives on the Virginia volleyball roster, Boylston and Matthews, always a little extra when you look across there and you see those familiar colors that are a part of your upbringing. He is trying, as is the case for Aaron Smith, Coach Dave Zelenak, to make this night a part of the growth of this Citadel program. I'll go a little deeper into that Southern Conference tournament, just to playing just a game or two, and hopeful that they can begin to compete in the Southern Conference with the likes of Samford and ETSU, those that have been the cream of their conference in recent years. Tonight, a big step in that direction, just to get battle-tested and battle-ready. Use that Citadel terminology. Well, waiting to the last moment, hoping that was going to go beyond the line, but it landed right on pay dirt. And pays with a Citadel point at 19-16 now. Gives it to the all-conference player De Jesus for service once more. Well, you saw Coach Zelenak, who looks on as a service error, will turn the point back over to the Hoos. He spent 5 seasons at Tennessee Tech, the helm of the Golden Eagles program, leading that team to back-to-back Ohio Valley semifinal appearances during his time in Cookeville, Tennessee. It was after 6 seasons on staff at his alma mater, Central Michigan. where he became well known as a recruiter. 5 straight nationally ranked classes in Central Michigan. They won the MAC title, appeared in the NCAA tournament in 2011 after a 33-year drought while he was on the staff recruiting. That earned him the job at Tennessee Tech and then on down to Charleston, where the rest is history in terms of arriving there to this point. Watching his team battle back on what is one of the better rallies we've had in this match so far between the two teams. It continues. Finishing up on his bio, stops at Delaware State and Northwood before returning to his alma mater and then working his way eventually through Tennessee Tech and down to Charleston. Has to love what he sees there. A little change of pace to dump it in for Megan Feuer. Feuer out of Franklinton, North Carolina. Tough player. Spent some time in a number of different roles for the Citadel Bulldog squad. How tough is she? She's trying out for the U.S. bobsled team in the near future in hopes of making that one of the latest adventures of her life. And certainly the Citadel, used to the force with which she plays, the toughness with which she plays. Here on this occasion, just a little soft touch when it's needed most for the 16th point. And now you see that point having been removed from the Citadel and going Virginia's direction. So the Cavaliers continue to close in on a first set victory if they cross the threshold of 20 at 21-17. Citadel bounces back nicely, only to have Virginia trade points with them along the way. And the Wahoos content to trade points right now after opening up an advantage and working their way toward the mid-20s. Another of those second years, getting so much experience the first go-round, Simone Dominique. The state of California. Heavily involved in that last Virginia point, but this is going to sail into the seats and be well out of reach. As the Citadel looks for a late set run. This is a set that started in such promising fashion for the Bulldogs, only to see Virginia in the middle stages pull even at 14 and then begin to pull away, and the service error will help them inch ever closer to claiming the first set. As the Cavaliers now boast a 23-18 lead. A couple of steps away now. Set up beautifully, and with what force Jana Francis provides the closure on this point, which will put Virginia on the doorstep of closure with this set. Set point coming for the Wahoos. What a job Madison Morey has done. Her collegiate debut in the libero role, and she's been on that service line for some time in this first set. Was there for the run that put Virginia out front. She won't be able to close this set down, however, as the Citadel answers back. And Melanie King goes to the serve line. The Bulldogs down 5. Virginia looking for the point that would close down the first set, and it has become elusive as the Citadel creeps up on the doorstep of 20 with set points still in effect for Virginia. Great senior leaders for the Citadel. Melanie King is trying to take it 1 point at a time. Back set, far pin, and it lands in for Virginia. That will nail down the initial set of the unusual 2020 season, and it will go to the Wahoos 25-20. Virginia battling back from behind to take it from the Citadel and secure a 1-0 sets advantage. You know, they look like they're having a good time now and certainly have worked their way into the season. Always takes a little bit of time to wade into the water And that's true in any given campaign. Can you imagine how true it is in this particular season of volleyball? Go all the way back to March 12th. All ACC athletic activities suspended. Here we are just over 6 months later. I mean, this is a group of people, you talk about the Cavaliers, and the same in many ways true for the Citadel Bulldogs team. Weren't allowed back on grounds until July 20th. Practice began August 8th. It was a waiting game. Will we play? When will we play? There was a game scheduled with Navy. It had to be pulled off the table. They thought they were waiting into conference action on October 2nd against Duke, and then just a handful of days ago, this game becomes available as the Citadel was looking to fill that open slot on their schedule. And both coaches talk about the extended training value they've received, but the flip side of that coin is how much they would still like to be in game competition as often as possible. And again, for the Citadel, they know everything is scheduled for the spring in their conference, that these are the warm-up moments to prepare them for what's to come. But think about it, this Citadel team with seniors, the likes of Melanie King, Emma Strong, Charlisa De Jesus, a couple of which are going to be graduating in December. All kind of questions to be answered by so many about what that looks like for Dave Zelenak's squad. Will he have the full complement of his players, even those two seniors that will have graduated and be in a position to move on to the next phase of life? And in the case of a military academy like the Citadel, the next phase of their journey. Will he be a little short-handed come the spring? All those questions still left to be answered. But one thing is for sure, everybody surrounding both these programs just glad to be back to some semblance of volleyball, even if it looks a little different than what you may be used to here tonight. He said this about facing this Virginia team after facing Virginia Tech last night, that Coach Zelenak, he said, look at the size and athleticism of these two ACC squads. And one thing I want our team to do when they look across on the other side is take some risks and go for it. Even become comfortable if those risks don't work out. He said in our league, it's so much about playing it safe and ball control, but the competitive environment that our team will see in the Commonwealth on back-to-back nights will certainly help them become the type of risk-taking team that can make strides here in this 2020 season. Well, they took some risks in the early stages of that first set, held an advantage all the way up to the 14th point. Virginia battling back and securing a 25-20 first set victory, and now teams having, again, not switched sides are ready to begin set number 2. They will not switch sides, not switch benches. You see the mask that many are choosing to wear on the floor that is required for them when they are on the bench. You hear a little bit of a difference in the sound of the whistle. It's electronic versus the traditional, so the schedule is different, the environment is different, but the passion with which these players arrive at this game and the excitement with which they are playing on a night like tonight, a night that many wondered if it would even come, already evident through one set of this 42nd season of Virginia volleyball. Looked like it was going to land in no man's land, but a little bit too much contact on the net. And Virginia, as a result, is awarded the first point of this second set. Christine Jarman, she's going to be used in a variety of different ways in this her senior campaign. She'll play out of position at times, though she's listed as an outside hitter. Boynton Beach native, transfer from Alabama. So many of these familiar faces back, and then you mix in those like Madison Morey, who is on your screen right now, with the high ceiling she brings into her first year on grounds. Much reason for excitement and anticipation now that there is volleyball. Even at one apiece with the Citadel in service having answered back. Boy, that was set up beautifully for Middleton, but Virginia had an answer. Elevation for Alex Spencer, but the Citadel was there. Great body control on that back line to keep it alive. Another good rally brewing here, as early control of this second set is up for grabs. to the middle. Really having to adjust the feet was Jarman that time. Morey provides the answer, but didn't completely get squared up, and that was too strong beyond that sideline for the Citadel's advantage. Melanie King, 12th all-time in school history with 800-plus kills. Had 14 kills in the opener for a team high on 33 total attacks. She handled service here, but Virginia handled the response, and Alex Spencer and company pull back even at 2 apiece. Kristen Leland coming back in, the junior out of Dallas, Texas, will go to the serve line for UVA. That said, great force, but an answer dug out beautifully by the Citadel. Virginia will try it again, and this time it is blocked on that front line. Alicia Roberts, the redshirt sophomore out of Griffin, Georgia, would have none of it. Transfer from Hampton. So you talk about ties, you discover the common stops along the way for many of these players. She falls in that category and provides the Citadel with a 3-2 lead. All the way across for Spencer, then it goes to the far side for the Citadel. Morey calling for it. Change of pace for UVA, but the Citadel was waiting. Boy, what an adjustment on the back. That looked like it had disaster written all over it for the Citadel until Melanie King made the adjustment. Instead, it stays with the Bulldogs at 4-2. In similar fashion to what we saw in the first set, it's the Citadel running out to the early advantage. But a quick response for UVA and Madison Matthews. Matthews pulling the Wahoos within 1. So at 4-3, Virginia trying to work its way back into control much earlier in set 2 than they established in the first. If you weren't with us at about the 14-point threshold, Virginia battling from behind and cruising on toward a 25-20 determination in that first set. In the thick of it all, Madison Matthews, and why not? She, alongside of Novakovic, one of the noticeable absences this year. All Virginia SID second team for her performance on this squad a year ago. So talented. And you can talk about holes that need to be filled. That's the big one. Novakovic now playing professionally in France, no longer there to shore up that right side. That's one of the big question marks for UVA this year. The absence of both Novakovic and Miller, who graduated, the two real question marks that Virginia will try to shore up as they work their way into this season. That's one thing Aaron Smith talked a great deal about. He said, you know, it's given us a little bit more time to try matchups, to try different people in different spots, and if anything, the extended camp that we've had once we actually worked our way into it has allowed us to maybe have more combinations going into a season than we've had before. One of the areas in which those combinations must work out, filling those big shoes. In the pin hitting department on that right side. Citadel with a 5th point. And Virginia, having taken the lead, will now await service from the Bulldogs. Citadel talked about spending their time working on serving tough and making their serve game the focal point. The main areas that certainly everybody's focused on, but he felt like that's one area, did Coach Zelenak, that if they could shore that up, certainly helps them make progress heading into their SoCon schedule in the spring. It finds its way all the way to the back line, not enough to get it up and beyond the net, so it'll belong to Virginia. As the Cavaliers open up just a little bit of breathing room at 8-5. Once again, Spencer has been so key, both from not only a positional standpoint, but a leadership standpoint. You're taking a younger team and trying to establish them as one of the unexpecteds, one of the surprises. With that incremental progress that we discussed year in and year out, it takes that strong will to fight and leadership that she so exhibits. They will continue to rely heavily on her as well as the other in this group of fourth years, this group of seniors for UVA. This block up top and saved and kept alive by the libero for the Citadel. Continuing to show tremendous fight right in the heart of things. How many times have we seen Melanie King come up big already in this match? Service error giving the point to Virginia. Mentioned the Wahoo seniors, of course. Spencer, who we've talked a little bit about. Jarman, Wilson, and Billiard. A group of upperclassmen that will lead this team to the charge on grounds, surrounding the likes of Maury, who handles service here. With such a bright glance into the future. Now remember, it was in the middle stages of that first set when Maury was right where she is now, back on that serve line. And Virginia powered from behind to take command. Though the Citadel hung right with them, didn't let them run off and hide, never really looked back from a lead standpoint, did Virginia. Back there again trying to string some points together. And with a hit far too long, she'll stay there. As Virginia pushes beyond double digits and now has secured its 11th point. Maury showing the calm and confidence of a player who's been in that role a long, long time. Easy to forget that she's in just her first match with the Wahoos. Her run on that serve line will end here as the point goes to the Citadel. Bulldogs within 2. Trying to find some open space on that front line. Virginia from setting it up beautifully. Won't happen. Cavaliers have an answer. Jarman providing the swing that makes the difference. And the Who's stretching it back out to 3. So it'll be Megan Wilson, Brookville, Maryland native. Setting it up this time, 4-year starter at that position as you see her go to work. That will elude her grasp. The surrounding cast having to make the difference here. Tries to get involved in the midst of this. There's Maury. That's just going to trickle up and over after the last piece of contact from Faith Justice, a junior out of Malden, South Carolina. The Citadel celebrates the point. Give Melanie King an opportunity to impact this match once again. Texan puts it in action. Communication from the Citadel, and it was set up for Middleton, who received the contact she was looking for, and you see the result as the Citadel celebrates it. All smiles as it'll stay with Melanie King. Too strong, and it belongs to Virginia. Citadel Bulldogs out of Charleston, South Carolina. Student body 2,300 strong, taking on this Virginia Cavaliers squad as the Southern Conference collides with the ACC. As the volleyball season gets underway. A privilege to have you with us on the ACC Network as Virginia, right about the point in the match in which they took control and pulled away in the first set, is stringing together some points here in the second set to the tune of a 14-11 advantage. Trying to put all kind of pressure on that Citadel side by claiming a 2-0 advantage. Exactly what happened to the Bulldogs against Virginia Tech a night ago. 25-13, 25-16, 25-18, the scores from the straight sets victory for Virginia Tech in the first bout with an ACC opponent for this Citadel squad this year. Melanie King, shouldn't surprise you, led the way for the Citadel with 7 kills as she loads up and continues to fire away here in this one also. Here's a shot from Middleton. But it'll be back set for Virginia, and a bit too strong on the return. Gives the point to the Bulldogs. Middleton was right there, creating the tandem alongside of King on the attack. 5 kills for her in that match against Virginia Tech last night. Again, 25-13, 25-16, 25-18, the way it went one night ago. Hanging a little closer to Virginia here tonight, as the Citadel, with this point awarded, has done to the Wahoos what Virginia did in that first set, pulling even at 14 apiece. Set up on the far side, good block. And that's going to be just out of reach. So Virginia powering back out front, 15-14. Leland back in the rotation for Virginia, as you see the conversation between Jarman and head coach Aaron Smith. Coach Smith leading this team to a strong finish. They won 4 of their final 7 matches, despite losing those 4 players to injury along the way last season. It was that momentum they hope to carry into 2020, and even though it's taken a little longer, certainly wanting to build on that. And the Citadel trading points with Virginia at this juncture to even the first 30 points of this second set at 15 apiece. Faith Justice back to the serve line. Alden High School product in the Greenville area of South Carolina. And they contact with Roberts up front, but the Citadel will keep it alive nonetheless. Set up right in the middle and driven down by Madison Matthews. Matthews, her cousin with connections to the Southern Conference as well. You may remember the former Florida Gators standout, Benavia Jenkins, now the head coach at ETSU, hailing from the same conference as these Citadel Bulldogs. In fact, that ETSU squad played for the Southern Conference Championship against Samford, falling in 5 sets, and was only just that 1 set victory short of appearing in the NCAA tournament for the 2nd straight year. In fact, that ETSU squad that is led to the charge by Matthews' cousin was the first team in Southern Conference volleyball history to ever receive an at-large bid when they did so out of the Citadel's conference 2 years ago in 2018. Of course, you'll remember the name, Benavia Jenkins, from those outstanding Gators teams in which she appeared in 2 Final Fours before starting a coaching journey that has worked her into the SoCon that you see the logo of right there on those Citadel jerseys. Shows the strength and connections of Madison Matthews and that family to this sport of volleyball. No surprise what she continues to do here at Virginia, and they set it up for Matthews once more, although she just misses landing this one. And the Citadel will secure the point. And the conference outlook for the Citadel, as they have pushed back out front at 18-16. Not much different this year than it has been the last couple. Those 2 teams, ETSU and the Sanford team, having won the last 2 titles, expected to be right at the top. Service error point, Virginia. And the Cavaliers back within 1 at 18-17. Much like and mirrors in many ways what we would talk about in the ACC with the way Pittsburgh has been on their run. 18-0 in ACC play a year ago. 3 straight championships, I should say, under Dan Fisher. Kayla Lund, the reigning player of the year back in the ACC. No reason to believe they're not going to be in a position to continue all that. Certainly the favorite and pick to win the league again here in 2020. It has been much the same in each of these teams' respective conference in terms of a team being very dominant at the top in recent years. Crossed by Francis, and then she comes right to the middle, works in unison with Matthews, and Virginia is able to secure the point once more. Well, the first set, you're kind of getting your feet wet just a little bit, but he seems to be all business now. You can see Aaron Smith, he has to pull that mask down just a little bit to make sure he's heard well by his team, but he's locked into game mode now, that is for sure. You can see it in his eyes as Alex Spencer serves for the Wahoos. What a return on that near side by Alicia Roberts. Exactly what the Hampton transfer had in mind as the Citadel pulls back to 19-all. What a competitive second set this has been. It's a race to the next 6 perhaps, and maybe beyond, as we find out on this point who reaches the 20-point threshold first. Just worked its way across the net. And Virginia there with the block, and it will be the Wahoos at 20-19. A breather for Matthews. So Madison Morey back to serve. Virginia trying to put all kind of pressure on the Citadel. If they can secure just 5 more here to take a 2-0 advantage in sets. Now, however things shake down with these conference alignments in terms of the pods that the ACC will play in, the scheduling, as a little housekeeping is done here to get us back to action. The scheduling that both of these teams will see, no doubt, fairly fluid with who is able to play on a given week, who is not, how the schedules are adjusted once the spring arrives. The main goal is to find a way to compete for the NCAA championship. And I mentioned it a little earlier that on Wednesday, the Division I Council revealed a plan under consideration which would support a January to April regular season with a selection show on April 11th and a Final Four the 23rd through the 25th of April at a site to be determined, perhaps back in Omaha where it was supposed to be in December. The changes would be a reduction of the field. They voted on 75% capacity. So it would be a 48-team field instead of a 64-team field. Virginia with a separating point at 21-20. So if that is eventually approved by the D1 board of directors, as it has been submitted by the D1 Council, you would have a 48-team field with 32 automatic qualifiers and 16 at-larges competing in the month of April for the 2020 Women's Volleyball Championship. Boy, what a job. Pancake that up, just keep it alive for a moment. But it's not enough to get it over the net. And these teams are even once more. A race to 4 in terms of securing the second set. So again, D1 Council approved, D1 Board of Directors looking to approve, and that's something that developed just this week in terms of the hopes of these student athletes and their ability to compete on the largest stage that exists in collegiate volleyball for the national championship. Right now, just competing to put one in the win column. And in the case of UVA, to have one under their belt as Virginia leads 22-21 with a 1-0 set advantage in effect. What punch was provided by Middleton? But Virginia right there. This back set far side, and Billiard loaded up, and then the swing a bit errant to give Virginia a 23-21 lead. Timeout being called for as the Citadel wants to keep things right where they are at 23-21. Well, Matthews in this match with 3 kills on 8 total attacks for Virginia to this point. But who can forget what she was able to do a year ago? Setting a program record, and talked about how much she was going to be expected to continue to make that development and how central she is to Virginia's success coming into this 2020 season. Once more, if you missed it earlier, playing against a team from just a couple of miles away from her home locale there in Charleston, South Carolina. And so far, enjoying what she has seen with the Wahoos out front 23-21, looking to try to claim a second set. And the horn sounding. Virginia looking to close down this second set, put that sizable advantage into effect. Billiard with the 5 kills leading the way for UVA right now. She's the other of those South Carolina low country natives. Or excuse me, Billiard leading the way. Boyston, the other of those South Carolina low country natives on this squad. 2 of them. Boy, just a punch to keep it alive for the Citadel. One more chance to get it across, and they will. Set up nicely, but the point to Virginia. So the Wahoos now putting a set point in effect as they try to claim the first 2 against the Citadel. Finishing up for you on where things stand. Billiard there with her 6th kill to lead the way. A trio of players, Spencer, Jarman, Dominique, all with 4 apiece right in behind her. And the Wahoos led to the charge by that group with the first 2 sets going their direction, 25-20 and 25-21. We will break away, come back with a 3rd set between the Citadel and Virginia. You're watching early season, even though it's starting here in late September, volleyball on the ACC Network. Sounds good. She won 4 state titles at Georgia's Walton High School, was a captain each of her first 3 seasons there, a 2-time area selection, and was selected to play in the Georgia Senior All-Star Game. And guess what? It translates. What a start in her debut as a Wahoo. You see the numbers on your screen for Madison Morey. She has been as advertised for Virginia, getting the start at the libero position in this contest, and has been, I think it's safe to say, the catalyst through which this Virginia team has secured the first 2 sets against the Citadel. Now looking to close things down as we go back to action inside Mim Gym. Glad to have you with us on the ACC Network for tonight's season opening volleyball contest. First point to the Citadel. That's something that happened in set 1, and the Bulldogs were in set number 1 and set number 2 to the middle stages, in the thick of things, and right on up into the 20s in set number 2. But Virginia having done enough to close the deal on both occasions, and now they look to secure a straight sets victory. against this Citadel team as they battle back with their first point, and things are even at 1-1. Bit of a short-handed Virginia team tonight. Of course, those of you who follow the program know that Mary Schaefer has been injured. They're down 5 when you consider the 4 that are not dressed tonight, but are inside Mim Gym. Mila Cyprian, of course, Grace Turner, who everybody is looking forward to seeing soon to determine exactly how much progress she has made following the key injury a year ago, as well as first year's Layla Rogers, who many expect to be a contributor right away, and Zen Benaby. Those 4, due to a coach's decision, unavailable for this contest, but again, expected to be very important parts of the Virginia attack this season on the volleyball side of things. So you're seeing a somewhat limited roster for Aaron Smith and company, but still his team rallying when necessary to secure the first 2 sets. And the Wahoos pulling even at 2 apiece here in the third. Those who have been out on the floor, Sarah Billiard leading the team with 7 kills. Of course, Alex Spencer right there in the thick of things as she's returned to her original role, doing some pin hitting tonight and securing 5 kills of her own. Jarman and Dominique with 4 apiece, 3 kills for Madison Matthews, who we featured at times throughout this one, the Charleston native, and then a pair for Francis with Megan Wilson in there with a kill of her own. As you look at those who've made contributions for Virginia, as the Citadel goes back to work on the serve line, Melanie King with 11 kills. She's the only one on either side with double digits, and she has been the leader for the Citadel. Charlisa De Jesus, the 2-time all-conference selection, she has 4 kills alongside of Gina Delancey, the Washington and Lee product, the Arlington, Virginia native, who has been a factor in this one tonight. They are tucked in behind Melanie King, that trio really leading the way for the Citadel in this match. Set beautifully. Plenty of force from Spencer there. You know she has to enjoy the chances she gets. Do a little pin hitting like we just saw there. Despite all the great approach with which she has made those adjustments to the defensive side and has become such a key element for Virginia in that category. But right in there behind Billiard, the 2 of them responsible for 12 of the kills for Virginia in this one tonight. This is the 2nd time in right around the same area that they have put Melanie King to work. And again, she leads the way among all players with 11 kills. Why not let her also do the cleanup duty over there, as it is under the supervision of Coach Dave Zelenak. 27 total attacks to secure those 11 kills for King tonight. Goes back to Virginia as the Cavaliers try to break this 2-2 tie in the 3rd set, and they will do so with the block up front. Both Spencer and Matthews on the scene. Matthews right there in the heart of it. But the point goes to the Citadel as that one did not land in. It'll go right back to Virginia, however, as the service error will run it even again. A 5-4 lead in effect for the Citadel. So work's being done in the middle. Now it goes far side, and that backline location. The Citadel answers, and then they get the block they were looking for to the Bulldogs. So 6-4 the advantage for a Citadel team that for the 2nd time in 3 sets has a lead and is in search of a little breathing room here in the very early stages of this 3rd set. Fewer, the standing setter for the Citadel. To work, although too many touches will secure the point when all is said and done. She had 44 sets against Mercer. 18 matches with 40-plus sets. Along the way, and double-double performer with 44 assists and 10 digs coming in that Mercer contest already on the season. That's how important young lady wearing that jersey number 9 has been for the Citadel. It's anybody's guess how important Madison Morey is going to be for UVA in the years that follow. But she has certainly already impressed the faithful with her performance here tonight. Can't quite get her hands on that one. But the work she has put together with those 14 digs to this point, and the effectiveness with which she has occupied the serve line in this match for Virginia, raising some eyebrows for the first year here on grounds. Point Virginia. So the Cavaliers, after falling behind the Citadel, pulling to within 2 at 8-6. Virginia winning the first set 25-20, the second set 25-21. Now trailing the Citadel by a pair. And this the third set with the Wahoos trying to close it down. Morey down to dig it out. And it tickles the tape and falls into open real estate on the far side for the Wahoos' 7th point to pull Aaron Smith's squad within 1. Francis the Princess Anne product waiting. Everybody waiting at the moment after that point was awarded to Virginia. And now ready to resume. Well, the work on the block initially strong from Maddie Cardenas and that Citadel squad, but in the end, the smiles belong to Christine Jarman and company, as Virginia evens things up at 8 apiece. We got a loose volleyball there for the moment. But things back in order as the Wahoos look for the lead. Blocked out, and it will be the Citadel's advantage at 9-8. A reminder, whatever happens here, we showed it to you a bit earlier, but the first ACC match for Virginia coming up, Duke on October 2nd, and then again, a second time the same weekend, as they will begin their work inside of what is a central pod of action in ACC play. Tonight trying to provide the momentum to catapult them into that short but important ACC schedule. The Citadel securing the point here, however, and continuing to lead in the third set. There's a look at what's coming up in the first portion of the month of October for the Wahoos, who will play, in case you missed it earlier, in a pod with Virginia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. ACC having been split into 3 separate pods in order to make sure that the games are played across 4 weeks. That total up to 8 matches for each squad will be played in as close a proximity as possible to limit travel and keep these players safe. So I think for all of us, and certainly I know you feel this way, those of you watching at home, just glad to see there is a schedule of some type with volleyball games being played. And you know that's the way these student athletes feel, who have put so much effort and energy into their careers. Right now, that effort and energy paying off for the Citadel in this third set. Bulldogs having secured an advantage of 11-9. It's must-have-it time for the Citadel after dropping the first two sets to Virginia. All kind of force. I love the energy with which Spencer approaches the net. It wasn't on her initial swing that they get the point, but it does translate into a fruitful effort for Virginia, a team now down 11-10 in this third set. Alicia Roberts standing by to substitute in for the Citadel, and there's Hannah Prendergast, the Leesburg native for Virginia. A Loudoun County product, watching as traffic is directed by that Virginia coaching staff. Wahoo's having pulled within one at 11-10 now, as everybody comes to a stop for an official review on that last point. Again, it was awarded to Virginia. Had a review earlier on which the challenge was made by Virginia, and the call in the end stood on a Citadel point. Here it is a Virginia point that is at stake, as the Wahoos, if things stay where they currently sit, are back within one at 11-10. Well, friends and family enjoying themselves. We talked about some of the differences that you will see across the course of this fall season. Friends and family only, and staff in addition, as it will stay a Virginia point. So both of our reviews to this juncture changing little as it stays at 11-10, the Citadel, and Virginia remains in service. Limited crowds, but you can still hear a great deal of energy inside of M Gym, a place that had since March, as all venues on grounds and across campuses around the country, had fallen quiet. A lot of life in there tonight, which is a great sign. Hopefully just the second of many resumptions of sports on these grounds and all around the land. Here's another chance for the Citadel to try to create a little more breathing room, and they will. So the Bulldogs, having run it out to an advantage of 13-10. Leland works back into the rotation for Virginia. It's the Citadel trying to continue this run. That's somehow corralled, chased down eventually by DeJesus. Great job keeping that point alive. But there is going to be no answer for Alex Spencer this go-round. Spencer 6 kills. She's even with Jarman in that category, trailing only Sarah Billiard, who's 7, paces the Cavaliers on this night. And with that, the Wahoos are within 2 at 13-11. Trying to use the power of Alicia Roberts, but it'll be too strong. And Virginia within 1 again at 13-12. Well, we gave a little bit of a preview of the Virginia season earlier in terms of what the question marks are going to be, what needs to be shored up in order for the Wahoos to continue to take those steps as they have in each year under this coaching staff. Worth revisiting as the point goes to the Citadel. Can they stay healthy? How quickly does Grace Turner return to her pre-injury form? The coaching staff talking about how mentally she's already there. They They see the energy level there and the competitive mentality there as the Citadel secures another. But they want to see that confidence of her landing and feeling 100% physically healthy. That's a question mark that Virginia will answer. How will they shore up that right side in the absence of Novakovic, who's now playing professionally in France? And what will these young players that have gained a tremendous amount of valuable experience already in just their first year or two on grounds, what will these young players be able to provide in order to complement the upper-class leadership? That may very well be. Those may very well be the questions that determine the fate of Virginia's not only fall pod season, but season as a whole, if and when there is a spring regular season to be played. Now, one thing we've learned about this team tonight, and it's a small sample size, and yes, it's a non-conference foe, but this is a team that even when they have fallen behind, and they've done so in each of these 3 matches, have found a way to reach deep and put the necessary run together to claim control of each of these sets. And that, again, is without a number of their key contributors and key leaders who, for one reason or another, are either in different roles to try out some combinations tonight or not available until they hit conference play. So certainly some positives to build on already in this, the inaugural match of 2020. But many reasons to highly anticipate this season, that is for sure. And there's one of them. Madison Matthews once again delivers the point for Virginia, which pulls the separation to just 1 once more. If she makes strides beyond her efforts from a year ago, setting the freshman record with that .382 hit percentage. I mean, you talk about freshman record, but think on this. That was the second best single season in that respect in Virginia history in 4+ decades of volleyball. So not just she was the best among the youngsters in the history of this program, but second best all time in that department. So I wonder why so much talk, so much energy surrounding. Will she be able to continue to build upon that outstanding first year? Well, it was a historic year, not just for a first year, but for a player in any right. Who's within a couple. Boy, just a little touch from Jana Francis to push it across, and it's a point for the Who's as a result. She shows you there's a number of different ways that she can provide impact. Francis with 4 kills in the match and a little bit of touch there that was just enough for Virginia to secure a 16th point. On the Citadel side of things, as this third set works its way to the middle stages, you have to be impressed with, as the point goes to Virginia, what Melanie King has done with those 13 kills tonight. And DeJesus, as advertised, the 2-time all-conference performer in the Southern Conference, has also been what they had hoped in this type of environment. So if early season matches like this and matches like this in terms of what the Citadel's looking for a spring season, and perhaps Virginia the same, are about filling things out, a lot of positives for both of these coaches. We're talking about the question marks that have to be answered for Virginia, and one of those, how will those experienced young players make a difference? Well, think about how much of Virginia's offense is back. Yes, you have to fill the shoes of Novakovic, but with that much of the impact from the 2019 season returning for this 2020 campaign, finding offense, one would think, is not going to be, for Virginia, as difficult as maybe it has been in years past, if they're able to take the kind of strides that has been the mark of these Aaron Smith's teams from one year to the next, and this the 4th year for the Virginia head coach. Well, they have pulled even at 17 apiece. Remember, it was the Citadel kind of in control of that first set all the way up to the 14-point threshold. And it was there that Virginia evened things and took control moving forward. Here it's at 17 all that Virginia has Megan Wilson back to serve in an effort to claim the lead. Won't happen on this point, though. Citadel finding open real estate right in the heart of that Virginia rotation. And Maddie Cardenas goes off to an outstanding reception as the Bulldogs have pushed themselves back out front. Well, not for long. And look at the delay. Virginia had to wait and see, is this somehow going to be returned? Will there somehow be a response? In the end, Christine Jarman could celebrate. There would not. And Jarman, with a 7th kill in this contest, is responsible for the point trading taking place right now between the Bulldogs and the Wahoos. Coverage for the Citadel, and Middleton works it across. Not the force we're used to seeing from her, but effective nonetheless. And here's that strong left-handed swing from Middleton. Speaking of strong swings, that's exactly what you get on the far side. Looking to block, but it ends up into the interior where Spencer had to deal with it. Here's Maury, who's introduced herself to Virginia fans nicely tonight. The eventual return for the Wahoos lands out, and the Citadel celebrates the point. And worked across. Another Citadel point, and the run the Bulldogs were looking for to close in on that threshold of 20 in an effort to extend this match a little bit longer, down 2-9. To the middle. Virginia had the blocking group there, but it stays alive. The Citadel with a 19th point to celebrate as they get the deflection on the far side. So make it 21. They, as we said, got to that 20-point threshold a moment ago, now having crossed it over. And the Citadel knocking on the door now of forcing a 4th set if they can find a way to close this one down. So what a response by Dave Zelenach's team, battling back after dropping the first set 25-20, the second 25-21, to put themselves in position now to perhaps steal a set away from their ACC foes and make their stay in Mim Gym a little longer tonight than folks had maybe anticipated heading into this 3rd set. One of the reasons for it, Melanie King and Charlisa De Jesus, 2 outstanding performers for Coach Zelenach. And Virginia in a position to have to do something they've done a couple of times already tonight. And it's battle back from behind in the middle of stages of one of these sets. But this is a little later than it has been. Here in set number 3, the difference if they do it this time, Virginia would close it down, send everyone to the house with the first match of 2020 under their belts and in the win column in non-conference fashion. So that no doubt the encouragement from Aaron Smith and his staff that the focus and toughness required here would be a matter of bringing this one to a close. Maury will return this. Set up beautifully on the far side, and Virginia will secure the point. So 21-18 becomes 21-19 with that Virginia point. And Jarman to now handle service for the Wahoos. So the Citadel 4 away. From forcing that fourth set. And there's a step in that direction. Beautifully placed by Megan Fuhr. Fuhr, for the first time tonight, putting her name in the scorebook in the kills department, having contributed in other ways, but this is a memorable one, which will run the Citadel to a 22-19 lead. And there's the response Virginia was looking for from the far side. High fives for Sarah Billiard. She has been more effective in the kills department than anyone else for Virginia tonight. She is one shy of double digits in that category. That was her ninth. And it makes it 22-20 Citadel. Hitting at a clip of 214, 28 total attacks to earn those 9 kills for Billiard, if you're wondering. And the point being awarded to Virginia, so the Cavaliers stringing some together now. As Maddie Boylston, the Mount Pleasant, South Carolina native, Wando High School, Mount Pleasant just across the bridge from downtown Charleston. So young lady from the area from which the Citadel arrived here in the heart of the Commonwealth tonight. Uses the tape atop the net to drop one in on the Bulldogs and makes it 22-21 now. So Virginia, or 22 all, excuse me, Virginia having pulled all the way even. Check that at 22 all. And Boylston remains back there. Is set up far side. What a job digging that out by Morey. Even if the point will eventually go the other direction. So the Citadel at 23-22 and a must-have set on the road against an ACC foe in Virginia. And that sneaks right inside the back line. Could not have walked it out there and placed it any better. As Dominique and company celebrate, a score now knotted up at 23 all. And that'll take us to a timeout. So a race to 2 perhaps here between Virginia and the Citadel. For the Wahoos, it would mean closing down the match. For the Citadel, it's in the effort of forcing a fourth set against their ACC opponent. Whatever happens here, the Citadel back in action to close out their season, the fall portion of it at least, against Mercer on October the 1st. That'll be a home match inside the McAllister Fieldhouse there in downtown Charleston. And for Virginia, the ACC slate, the 8-game slate in 4 weeks that will make up their pod, beginning one day later on October 2nd and running through October 24th. And then it's, if you're joining us late, kind of wait and see what happens from there in terms of a spring season, everything trending toward perhaps an April Final Four, late April Final Four, an early April selection show, and a season that would potentially run from January to April and culminate in a 48-team NCAA tournament. But all that to be determined. What we know for sure is tonight, Virginia finds themselves 2 points away from a straight sets victory against the Citadel, with Alex Spencer in service for the Wahoos. Blocked well in the middle. Dominique was there among others. Then on the far side, Virginia has a response once again. Point to Virginia, and that will set up match point for the Wahoos. So a Virginia team that trailed early in this match, in the middle stages of the first set, trailed late here in the third set, looking to claim 2 out of the 3 in impressive come-from-behind fashion and claim a straight sets victory. After a little sparring at the net, it continues. And then Virginia is able to drive it home, and the Wahoos in straight sets have claimed the long-awaited first victory of 2020 and the long-awaited first match of the most unusual of years. But Virginia will start 1-0 after taking down the Citadel 25-20, 25-21, and 25-23. Wahoos led to the charge by Sarah Billiard, who will end the night with 9 kills. Jarman with 7. Spencer getting to play back in the old digs, her usual position, with 6 alongside Dominique, who fared well with the 6. And one of the impressive memories of tonight will be Madison Morey, who ends the evening with 20 digs in her collegiate debut. Add it all up, it turns out to be a very nice night for UVA. That'll do it from us here on Grounds. A privilege to have you with us tonight on the ACC Network, and congratulations to Virginia, a win in straight sets over the Citadel. For all of us on locations in and around Mim Gym on this season opening Friday night, Jason Patterson saying so long from Charlottesville, where the Wahoos have opened their season, the most unusual of seasons, in victorious fashion. You can watch this entire game on replay as well as other games on our ACC Network. Download the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.